Hi you guys, this is Rachel Kirkland here, the Modern Shaman. Thanks for being with me for another YouTube Q&A video of the week. Here we are. I have been doing these videos for a long time. It feels like it to me. Maybe you're new to the channel, and if you are, I typically say welcome, and today is no different. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. This is a beautiful grouping of people, a grouping of energy, and the questions come in from you all. You send them in, and I just address where your heart is, what you're wanting to know. And it's a beautiful sense of community. All right, with that said, I didn't do any of my marketing stuff. Y'all, I'm so obvious. I am so just authentic when it comes to this stuff. Okay, I do this for a living. If you would like a session with me, if you would like to follow up through my website, please visit themodernshaman.net. Y'all know that I just came out with my spiritual entrepreneur program, which I'm so proud of the people that are doing it. I'm just like, yeah. It is so empowering to watch people stand in who they are, who they came here to be, and the gifts that only they have. Because that's what's so beautiful about the sacred intuitive arts, is that it's not the same for everybody. The way that I receive information from spirit is so particular to me and who I am and my soul. And the same is true for you or for whoever is standing in their own gifts. And so it is really beautiful to get to foster that and be a conduit for growth for other people and watch them stand in it and support them, their family, and feel confident in being able to help others with their own gifts. So that spiritual entrepreneur program also on my website, if you would like to really take your skills and do something for humanity with it in a sense of service, that's there. Okay, let's get to the question. This one came in with a big list of questions. It says, let me see. Hi, Rachel. There's a bit here at the beginning. I'm going to scroll down and pick the question and just read that. It says, how do I become a better harnesser of energy? Of all-in source energy, this flooding of love and goodness projected directly at another. How do I get into a place of all entirety where these things get stronger and stronger as a harnesser of energy? So as a healer, this is a beautiful question. And really, just as the amplifiers that we are all satellites in our own electromagnetic field. This is what the aura is. This is when people read energy or are able to see your own electromagnetic frequency, or those that are just empathic and can feel the vibe around people. This is what we're talking about. But I like this question. I'm going to get a little scientific about it and break it down, because what is so wonderful about energy is that it is scientific. It's not something that's so woo-woo or out there in this light working field that is hard for others to understand. It's actually energy, right? And everything is energy. And so there are elements of it that are very malleable, that are understandable from the scientific perspective. And I love when those blend. They really are the same. And yet so much of our semantics and languaging seem to separate the two, but they're not. No different. Our science hasn't quite caught up with the intuitive aspects of what we're capable of, but they will. So let me see. Becoming a better harnesser of energy. The first thing that I want to talk about in our human form and the way that our spirit is encompassed by this form is that we activate or harness like channeling in, if we were the conduit of energy, we harness that first in our thoughts, okay? That's like calling the energy in, like opening the floodgates. So the first step to better harnessing energy is to have a control of the mind. And this has been taught through meditation for eons, right? But essentially, you want to start the activation of very intentional thoughts. And these thoughts, you want to be powerful, you want to be positive in terms of the charge to them, like happy thoughts, thoughts that are peaceful, thoughts that are good in their intentional aspect, strong, meaning you align with them, they don't feel fake, and believable, right? These are strong thoughts. You activate the thoughts first. That's the first step. And it's just held in the mind and you hold tight to them. So you're deliberate about getting rid of any noise or debris type of thoughts, distractions. Basically concentrate with a sense of focus and meditative quality to the purity of your thoughts. The second thing in terms of strengthening and becoming a better harness of the energy is to then amplify them. All right. So this is done through the emotional tone of the thoughts. And this is from our heart chakra, just the organ of the heart. This is our electromagnetic generator in our body, right? It is electromagnetic, it's pumping, and essentially it's giving the amplification, or if we think of a satellite, it's putting out the sound waves, it's putting out the vibrational tone, the frequency, and amplifying those out. So you can strengthen it by strengthening the emotional tone to your thoughts. So you feel them as deeply as you possibly can. You get the emotional amplification. This was done in our ancient communities by dancing, wailing, creating an atmosphere that felt potent for emotionality. We do this today, like when in churches, when they get together and sing praise songs and people are crying, there's a sense of bringing out the amplification through the words, which are just, so we're thinking the thoughts and then we're saying them, the words or lyric, and then they're putting amplification because they are going into an ecstatic state that is really giving meaning and potency of emotional tone to what they're saying or what they're thinking, okay? And so this is then amplifying out. I keep doing this because visually, in my clairvoyance, I always see it. But essentially, I'm seeing you as a satellite image here, becoming a better harnesser of that energy, so a better tool. And the technique there of knowing what you're doing with intentionality. So being very pure with the thoughts and then amplifying those out by adding emotional tone to them. And it helps to move the physical body, to stand up, to dance, to stomp, to chant, to get active, some wailing, crying, screaming out, depending on what it is that you are claiming or proclaiming. But as much as you can, getting your heart initiated in it. That is the emotional tone. Now, when you start with emotions, sometimes they feel fake at the beginning, right? It takes a repetitive motion oftentimes to get into that space where you feel like you mean it. And the sincerity of connection, and this is where we find resonance, or you hear that word of resonance, where there's harmony from the mind and the heart. And when these are in sync, then we have a very clear signal or amplification going out from your satellite. This is where you're truly harnessing the energy with knowledge and wisdom of how to do it, right? So the third way that I want to talk about of better harnessing energy is to use the literal tools. And these are more specific amplifiers. So these would be like minerals or stones, things that we know work as conduits of energy. So now we're talking like on the lines of a computer processor. This is an extremely precise level. This is like laser-like level of using your own body as a laser-like instrument of harnessing energy. Now, yogis and shamans and those that have been working with the divine energy through the body conduit have been doing this, again, for a very, very long time. We just haven't really put together the scientific explanation of it and how it is an actual instrument. We look at larger processors like computers or watches, and these are quartz based, right? So they use the piezoelectric qualities of quartz crystal as an amplifier. And so my third suggestion would be to get a tool that you feel particularly drawn to as an amplifier or a conduit. And again, these become laser-like. I can point there. There's my Lemurian quartz, which is a very pure quartz. You can also get terminated quartz, which has pointed on ends on each side, so there's directional quality. Pyramid shapes in terms of sacred geometry also work, where the base is squared and then the top is where we have our exit point of energy. So it compresses the energy out through the top. So it's very easy to use pyramid shaped quartz to have directional quality to your energy and where you're sending it. So you work through the first aspect, which is the thought, getting very pure with your thought. Second aspect, which is strengthening the emotional tone or amplification of that. And then the third part is kind of directional, right? Where the momentum is going. If you want to send it to a person that you care about, if you want to send it to a collective of humanity, if you want to send it to another planet, if you want to send it to an organ in your own body. Directional points using quartz. You can also use copper. Copper is known as a liner in many, like you think of dowsing rods. These are directional pointers to help channel energy, okay? And copper is a wonderful mineral that really, like when I first got dowsing rods, I used to love using them just to think of a thought and try to amplify it and have someone stand as far as they could away from me and see how far I could send out my field of energy before the copper rods would cross. And when I used to practice this when I taught Psychic 101, and it was a fun kind of practice activity to show people how far out their energy could magnify and how well the copper rods could pick up on it, and no matter how far out they were. So this was a practice in amplifying your energy. You can do that now. But essentially, this gives precision in a directional way to where you want to send the energy and the effectiveness of it. Magnets are the same way. I love using magnetically charged hematite. I've talked about that before. The polarization of the sides, and these can pull out energy and use it a very effective, very specific aspect of that. There's particularly effective for the human body, for our blood, because of the iron content and being able to move through aspects of our form that have natural minerals and elements within our physical body. We are elemental in our base. And so after we have amplified, created, and harnessed this energy, where you want it to go is your decision. And you can utilize tools like that with a very precise sense of focus, whether it's the magnets, the copper, crystals, to help direct where you would like the energy to go. Again, this has been harnessed and done by the ancients for many years. Look at the pyramids in Giza. I mean, even the way that the limestone, there's so much to it in terms of our ancient healing tools. And they don't have to be overly complicated. But the same practices that are used within computer programs now, and the way that they move, like circuit boards, right? The way that they move and channel energy using circuits, the same is true of our chakra system and the many, many layers to that chakra system that branch out in our circuitry from our nervous system and essentially are charging our bodies and working our bodies. We can harness that through the use of other tools and elements to direct the current of energy where we want it to go, whether it's again outside or internal, and where we want that to go. You can utilize precise instruments that have all of these kind of connected in. There are people who make literal copper rods with crystals, directional crystals that almost look like knives because they have that pointed field or triangular shape in terms of the pyramid of amplifier, the composite at the bottom that chooses to amplify up through the top, or just naturally, there's my pointed Lemurian quartz. I've showed it in many videos, but essentially there are naturally forming crystals that form in points, and utilizing that natural formation to direct where you would like the energy current to go. Those are potent ways, and as simple as that sounds, you guys, you can get very, very precise with your directional energy, magnification of energy through the amplification of your emotional tone. And precision comes from the purity of what you're doing. And purity, this is why yogis that have been meditating for so long have been able to control even their exit points, their own death, the way that they transmute into light. You've heard about rainbow bodies, people taking on the rainbow body and essentially ascending out of the physical form with the purity of the work that they're doing. This is the refining of the vibration of energy. So we have the hertz level, the frequency level, but as you know, hertz will go up and up and up in frequency. Okay, so frequency is the readout, the numerical read of that vibration, right? The oscillation, or how fast it's oscillating. And so the frequencies will go up and be higher and higher and higher. Most of these are beyond our audible range in our human form. And when we get purer and purer with our vibrational oscillations, the frequency gets higher and higher. The purity level really gets into how potent the power with what we're doing. Okay, so this can be practiced over and over. This means that you're able to get rid of that noise and distraction. By noise, I literally am seeing the image. If you think of a TV channel where it's static, right? Nowadays, you can't really do that. But we used to be able to like turn the knob, and when you didn't really hit a particular frequency, it would go shh, and you would literally see the noise of all the visual data all over the screen. The same is true when we are trying to connect with a thought, but the thought is not in a purity of vibration. We are not in sync with our mind and our heart, and so there's a lot of noise. And so it takes the practice of getting the purity of that oscillation, that frequency, that as well as the amplification of practices of dancing, of chanting, of working the physical body up into that emotional tone, and then getting very directional quality using tools through the elements. Again, this is the same as when you see portal circles like Stonehenge. There are so many stone calendars or circles that were used in ancient times to essentially let the field of energy move in a certain way. They are harnessing the elementals to help target or work a shape or a field of the directional energy in which they want them to go, whether it be a sphere with circular energy or a toroidal field moving up, which is more portal-based energy. There's a lot of directionals that can be used through elementals. We are just kind of learning this and or remembering this technology, but it's a beautiful question that you asked. I hope that that's helpful to you and that you develop stronger ability in your harnessing of energy. Blessings to you guys. We'll be back here next week. Another video.